YouTube, this is Scott with Linux for Today. In this video, this is going to be the first in a series. What I'm going to do with this series is we're going to install Debian, but we're going to do it a little bit differently than I normally do my installs. We're going to do this one in a more customized manner. We're going to install simply just the core without the graphical user interface. And then we're going to do subsequent videos from there to show how to add the graphical user interface. Choosing graphical user interfaces, we're also going to be discussing common and helpful user, administrator, and perhaps even development tools to use inside your Linux environment. Throughout the entire series, we're going to be using Oracle's VirtualBox like I have open here. My host operating system is Linux Mint 17.1 Rebecca, which by the way is running awesomely. If you need a good host operating system, this is probably one of the best ones I've found. Of course, I am kind of biased. I really enjoy the whole Debian family. But without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started with this. We're going to click New, and we're going to put Debian. Now, the reason why I'm only going to put Debian instead of which version, like Debian 7 or Debian Wheezy, is that we're going to also in the process show you how to upgrade to the different repositories, whether you want to use testing or SID or the current testing, which is Jessie. It's scheduled for release later on this year. SID is always their unstable bleeding edge repository system. So we're just going to name this Debian for now because, like I said, we're going to upgrade it later away from 7 to 8. So here we go. I'm going to click Next. I'm only going to give this 1 gig of RAM because I want to show you how snappy this is going to be without using a large desktop environment like GNOME, or this is KDE that I'm running here. I'm going to install LXDE. For this example, you can install any of the other minimalistic or smaller ones such as Enlightenment or Fluxbox, OpenBox, whichever. But we only need a gig of RAM for this. I'm going to click Next, create hard drive, VDI, dynamically allocated, and for here we're just going to give us, let's say 250 gigs should work. I'm going to create this drive. Alright. Normally I bump this display up. You can go in here and choose how much video RAM you want to use, so on and so forth. But what we're going to do is, since we're doing minimalistic, we're going to keep everything small. It's a 12 meg card. They don't even make cards this small anymore, and so on and so forth. I do need to change the network here. What I'm going to do is change this to using a bridged adapter, which is my wireless. This is so it can get its own IP address. In later videos, what I'm going to do is show you how to use some of these command line tools, and we're going to do it from SSH instead of doing it straight from our virtual box window here. I'll actually SSH into the server and explain it from there. So we're going to go ahead and give this its own IP address on the same subnet that my host machine is on. Alright, storage area. We'll go in here, give it this Debian 7.8 AMD64 net install. This is a very small 222 meg ISO image. One advantage to this is generally for server administrators, they can update or install with the latest updates. This forces it to use a mirror and go out to the internet and download all the latest packages instead of installing packages like off of a CD or a DVD. This actually pulls them directly off of the server. So after you've done install, you already have the absolute latest stable version. Click OK. I want to get this thing started. Alright. I'm going to choose the install option here in just a second. But what I want to show you down here in advanced is you can go down here to alternate desktops, and you can go ahead and actually hit LXDE or XFCE, whichever you want. Both of these are fairly lightweight, as opposed to KDE, or the default install is the GNOME desktop environment, which would be GNOME 3. This is KDE 4.8, I believe. But we're going to end up with an LXDE environment, but we're going to do so by hand. So we're going to come back up here, go to back. I'm going to do an install, not a graphical install. I'm going to choose English, United States, American English. What we're doing here is we're just going to install the very, very basic. Usually when I do these install videos, they turn out to be 15 to 20 minutes long, even after I cut 15 to 20 minutes, an hour worth of install time out of them, like with my older videos that you see on my channel. This is actually going to go fairly quick, and there probably will not be a lot of editing. We'll leave our host name at Debian, don't need a domain name. What we're going to do here is we're going to forego the root password. This is something that it does on Debian, and it does it automatically on Linux Mint. There are other Linux distributions where you absolutely must specify root password and then lock it out later on. But with Debian, we don't have to do that. We're just going to hit enter, keep the root password blank, which means it's going to disable the account. This first user that we put in here is going to become a sudoer, or an administrator. Okay, I'm in a central time zone, and I've got a lot to cover throughout these videos, so if I go too quick, just watch the video again. It'll be all right. What I was wanting to show you here is if I had more than one drive, I can go in here to manual, and after I partition this, it automatically detected I only have this one drive, so it's not giving me the option right now. But if I had two drives, up here underneath guided partitioning, it would give me another menu to establish a RAID. But since we only have the one drive, it's not going to show up. All right. So we'll go back, going to detect the disks. All right, we're going to use guided partitioning. We're going to use the entire disk. We're just doing everything nice and simple. If you know what you're doing with Linux, you can choose separate partitions or a separate home partition. But as it says right here in this first option, all files in one partition, recommended for new users. Unless you really have a reason for separate partitions, you doesn't really necessarily need it. Everything will be okay. What some people like to do is they'll end up with two drives. They'll put the root on, and I mean root path, the root path for directories, not the root user. They'll put root on and everything else on this one partition, and they'll have a separate home partition, which is actually on a separate drive. And one of the good things about doing that is if you have to reinstall Linux, all of your home users, all of your home settings, everything is still on the home drive. So when you reinstall, you just remount that partition as home, and when you log in for the first time, it's like you've never formatted. All of your information, all of your settings, all your email, everything is still saved in that home partition, which can be handy. But if you only have one drive, having a separate home partition and the drive crashes, you're still stuck. So we're just going to choose the basic one here. We have our root path there and a 2.1 gig swap. We're finished. We're going to write these changes to disk. It should just take a couple seconds here. Okay, we're in the United States. I'm going to just go straight off the Debian's default mirror. Okay, all these files it's pulling off now, it's pulling them directly from the internet. It's not pulling it off of a DVD or any type of CD. It's coming directly from Debian, so they are the latest stable versions. So after we reboot, when we boot back up and we were to try to upgrade our system because we installed from a DVD or a CD, there wouldn't be anything to do. The upgrade's already done. Okay, what I'm going to do here is instead of installing GNOME, which is its default, we're going to take that, we're going to unselect that, we're going to select the print server, and we're going to leave these two alone. You want the standard system utilities because it includes a lot of the auto completion, like bash completion and stuff like that. It has a lot of utilities in it that are very useful, so we're going to leave them there. It's not a lot of, doesn't take up a lot of disk space. And we're going to take the laptop out. Hit continue. If you watch some of my other videos, you'll see that the number of packages that it's installing is, you know, anywhere between 1,000, 1,200. Here we only have 101. It looks like it's going to take about a minute or so to complete. And again, the reason why it's taking this long is because it's pulling the packages directly from Debian instead of off a DVD. It's really advisable to have a decent internet speed to do this with. Usually when you do this in like a server environment or a company or a business, they pretty much have decent broadband, unless you're dealing with like a small startup company that is working off of a low-cost cable connection. Here at the house, I have a 100 megabit connection to the internet, and I also have a 1 gigabit wireless LAN. So we have enough bandwidth to do this. And as you can tell, this is really quick. I doubt I'll end up cutting out any video at all. Okay, we're already doing grub and post installation. Yes, we're going to install that to the master boot record. Setting up users' passwords, and we're about ready to reboot for the first time. As you can tell, it's only just a few minutes in. Okay, we're done. We're going to continue, and what it's going to do is unmount, reboot, and we'll see you in the next video.